My name is Grant, and for the past few months, I've been replaying the same questions in my mind over and over again, trying to figure out what to do next. This is the story of how I discovered my wife, Mia, had cheated on me 2 years ago, right at the beginning of our relationship, and how that revelation left our marriage in a state of limbo. A happy beginning, or so I thought. When I first met Mia, I was instantly drawn to her. There was something about her energy. She was both charming and down to earth. I loved her laugh, loved how she'd tilt her head when she found something amusing. Within a few short months, we were head over heels for each other. We moved in together almost too quickly, but it felt right. A year after that, I proposed on a whim at a cozy Italian restaurant. She cried, said yes, and for a moment, I believed we were the perfect couple. We got married in a simple, intimate ceremony at a lakeside venue, surrounded by close friends and family. Looking back on those photos now, I see so much hope in our smiles. Neither of us suspected the storm that was about to roll in. The strange discovery. It all began innocently enough. I was cleaning out our guest room, which Mia had been using as a makeshift office. I was sorting through boxes of paperwork, random trinkets, and old photos when I stumbled upon an old phone of hers. It was a model she hadn't used in a while. I was about to toss it into the donation pile, but a nagging feeling told me to see if it still powered on. I charged it up out of curiosity. When it finally booted, I glanced through her old photos, mostly harmless pictures of her and friends, random screenshots, and selfies. That's when I saw a folder tucked away in the gallery. It was labeled simply old. I opened it without a second thought, assuming it was photos from her previous job. Instead, I found a series of screenshots of text messages all dated around 2 years ago, shortly after we started dating. My heartbeat spiked as I read the snippets. Ex-boyfriend, Ethan. So are we doing this? Mia. I guess it's one last time, right? One last time? I flicked through more screenshots, my stomach twisted as I pieced together the obvious. She met up with her ex, Ethan, for what she had openly referred to as a last fling or goodbye sex. Sweat formed on my temples. My mind spun with questions. When was this? How many times did it happen? And why would she keep these messages? Confronting Mia, I waited an entire day before I said anything to her. Maybe I needed the time to calm down, or maybe I just didn't want to accept what I'd seen. Eventually, I couldn't keep it in any longer. We were sitting in our living room, Mia scrolling through her phone, me pretending to watch a basketball game. I hit the mute button on the TV. Mia, I found your old phone, I said, trying to keep my voice even. And I saw some messages. She froze, her eyes still focused on her screen. What messages? I swallowed hard. Between you and Ethan. Her fingers curled tightly around her phone. Her face paled. That was, Grant, that was a long time ago. Why were you looking at that? Why'd you keep them? I fired back, the anger I'd been holding back beginning to surface. She set her phone down on the coffee table and exhaled, her voice trembling. I forgot they were there. I'm sorry you had to see that. I turned off the TV and faced her fully. So when exactly did this happen? She hesitated before replying. It was about 2 years ago, right after we started dating, maybe 2 or 3 months in. I felt my chest constrict. We were together then, I said quietly, officially. I had just asked you to move in with me the next month. I know, her eyes brimmed with tears. I thought it wouldn't matter if it was just once more with him. It was closure. She let out a choked sound. Or maybe it was stupid, I don't know. But I didn't see how it would hurt you if you never knew. You told him it was one last time. My voice sounded hollow to my own ears. Mia nodded, tears now spilling down her cheeks. It was a dumb, selfish decision. I kept telling myself it was like some kind of friendship, sex, or final goodbye. I never intended to keep him in my life, and I didn't want you to find out because you knew I'd be devastated, I finished for her. She nodded again, silent. The explanations. We talked or argued really in circles for hours. Mia insisted it was a one-time mistake. She claimed she was confused about her feelings back then, wanting to be absolutely sure about Ethan's place in her life. I snapped back that the timing was unforgivable. She and I were already a couple, already building a life together. Why did you keep those screenshots, Mia? I demanded at one point, my voice raw. She wiped her eyes. I honestly don't even remember. Maybe I was just covering my tracks in case he tried to blackmail me or rub it in my face later. I never looked at them again. The phone was abandoned for a reason. The worst part was a small part of me believed her. Mia had never shown signs of an ongoing affair. This was in the past. But the discovery of her betrayal gnawed at me, poisoning every memory of our early relationship. Telling family, or not, I didn't know who to talk to about this. My best friend Luke noticed something was off when we went out for drinks. I told him a condensed version of the story. Didn't mention names, just that Mia had been unfaithful early in our relationship. Luke's eyes flashed with anger on my behalf. You gotta leave her, man, he said firmly, slamming down his beer. That's a huge betrayal. If she did it once, who's to say she won't do it again? I couldn't respond. Mia and I were married now, tied together in more ways than just dating. I had signed up for better or worse, right? As for my family, I kept them in the dark. I wasn't ready for the avalanche of opinions and disappointment that would inevitably follow. I avoided my mother's calls, made excuses not to visit my parents. The idea of telling them my marriage might be crumbling so soon after the wedding made my stomach lurch. My decision. A week after the discovery, Mia and I had another long talk. She was tearful, remorseful, and desperate for me to forgive her. Grant, I love you. I promised that night that Ethan meant nothing, she said, her voice cracking. Please, we can go to counseling if you want. I'll do anything. I stared at the ring on her finger, my grandmother's ring. The symbol of our vows. Something inside me had snapped. I wasn't sure if I could trust her anymore or if I even wanted to try. I'm not filing for divorce, I finally said, my tone cold. But I need space. Mia looked panicked. What does that mean? Are you leaving? Where will you go? I shrugged. I'm not sure yet. Maybe I'll stay at Luke's place for a while, or maybe I'll just crash on the couch here. I honestly don't know. She reached out, but I stepped back. I couldn't handle her touch. Grant, please don't shut me out. Let's fix this. I shook my head. I don't know if we can. I don't know if I can. Living in limbo. Ultimately, I didn't divorce her. Not yet, anyway. But I didn't forgive her either. I packed a duffel bag and moved into our spare bedroom. We existed under the same roof, exchanging polite greetings but no real connection. I went to work early, came home late, ate dinner in silence, and avoided her gaze. She tried to initiate conversations, left notes on my nightstand, made me coffee in the morning, but I ignored these gestures, too consumed by anger and the sting of betrayal. We fell into a strange routine of living together as strangers. Friends who visited would sense the tension. They'd notice how Mia and I barely made eye contact, how I never put my arm around her anymore. Everything okay? They'd ask, and we'd nod, plastering on fake smiles. But behind closed doors, we were two people who no longer recognized each other. Unanswered questions. I haven't decided what my endgame is. Part of me wonders if I'm punishing her by staying in this strange half-marriage, refusing to move forward or end it. Another part of me can't bear the thought of finalizing a divorce, as though that would destroy any lingering hope we have. Mia once pulled me aside in the hallway, tears streaming down her cheeks. Grant, if you can't forgive me, at least talk to me, she pleaded. I looked into her eyes, saw the guilt and the sorrow there. I don't know how, I said. I don't know how to look at you and not see what you did with him. She broke down sobbing and I just walked away, my own eyes stinging with tears I refused to shed in front of her. Where we stand, months have passed and not much has changed. We're still technically married, still living in the same house, but sleeping in separate rooms, operating in separate spheres. I haven't told my parents or hers. We go to family events, put on a show, and drive home in silence. It's exhausting, but I guess it's easier than facing reality. Sometimes I wonder if we'll ever break this cycle, either by truly reconciling or by tearing off the bandage and divorcing. But right now, it's like I'm stuck in a loop of numbness and resentment. A part of me wants to forgive her. Another part wants to see her suffer the way I've been suffering. I know staying in limbo isn't fair to either of us. I've read articles about emotional separation, about how it can be more toxic than an actual breakup. But here I am, paralyzed by indecision. I guess I'm hoping time will reveal something, like whether I can find it in my heart to forgive, or whether Mia will decide she can't live in this purgatory and leave on her own. In the meantime, we exist together yet apart, haunted by the knowledge that everything we built was tainted by a single lie she tried to keep buried. Some days, I almost miss the early months of our relationship, and I believe in our perfect love. But illusions shatter, and now I'm left holding the shards, unsure if they can ever be glued back together. That's my story. I haven't found a resolution yet, just a stalemate. Maybe we'll talk again, maybe I'll pack my things and go, or maybe Mia will. Right now, the truth sits between us like a boulder, too heavy to move, too crushing to ignore. And maybe that's where we'll stay until one of us finds the courage to finally break free.